the imitation of the operation of a real-world process or system over time. Often, computers are used to execute the simulation, or simply means the process of replicating a physical test in the virtual world using software. Simulation can be used to show the eventual real effects of alternative conditions and courses of action. Since simulation does exactly what it says, it mimics what happens in real-life processes. By mimicking the behavior of each part of the process as it interacts with other parts, you can understand how the whole system will perform and try alternative ways to provide resource capacity or innovative ways to improve performance. Simulation is also used when the real system cannot be engaged because it may not be accessible or it may be dangerous or unacceptable to engage. Or it is being designed but not yet built, or it may simply not exist. Simulation is a secure and effective way to solve real-world problems. It offers a useful method of analysis that is simple to verify, interact with, and understood.
So why use simulation?
First, it is a risk-free environment. Simulation provides a safe way to test and explore different what-if scenarios. Critical situations can be investigated without risk. Example nito is yung mga oil companies kung saan sila ay gumagamit ng oil and gas simulation softwares. Dito, tinetest nila yung mga maaaring maging epekto ng kanilang mga oil products. Halimbawa is yung resistance nito, kung ito ba ay safe at ang mga epekto nito sa ating environment. Next is it saves money and time. Virtual experiments using simulation models are less expensive and less time-consuming than a real-world experiments. Instead na gumawa sila ng physical test which is expensive and time-consuming, pwede na muna nila ito i-test virtually. Visualization. Simulation models can be animated in 2D and 3D, making it easier to verify, interact, and understand the concepts and ideas. For example, sa mga analysts and engineers, mas nakakapag-decide sila ng tama dahil nakikita nila in action or yung step-by-step process ng kanilang mga projects. A simulation uses a mathematical description or model of a real system in the form of a computer program. This model composed of equations that duplicate the functional relationship within the real system. Anyone can perform a simple analysis manually. However, as the complexity of the analysis increases, so does the need to employ computer-based tools. Simulation, however, does take into account the randomness and interdependence which characterize the behavior of your real-life business environment. Using simulation, you can include randomness through properly identify probability distributions taken directly from the study data. Simulation offers a powerful, evidence-based approach to decision-making by using a virtual representation to test the impact of process changes and what-if scenarios. You can find an approach that delivers the best results. Simulation is used in many contexts, such as simulation of technology for performance optimization, safety engineering, testing, training, education, and video games. Simulation is also used with scientific modeling of natural systems or human systems to gain insight into their functioning. Simulation in business is varied and it is often utilized when conducting experiments on a real system that is impossible or impractical, often because of cost or time.
Advantages and disadvantages of simulation. Ano ba yung mga benepisyo na makukuha natin by doing a simulation? So para lang madaling tandaan kung ano yung simulation, lagi lang nating itatak sa isip natin na it is a process of testing something through a model. So process daw siya ng pagte-test gamit ang isang model. So, bakit ka ba nagsasimulate? Obviously, it is to predict results, kung ano ba yung, kapag ba i-consider mo yung bagay na to, ano yung magiging kalalabasan, something like that. As you can see, we have 7 advantages of simulation. First one is useful for sensitivity analysis of complex systems. Kasi ang simulation, it allows the decision maker to study the interactive system variables. Pag sinabi natin interactive system, ito yung interaction between human and computer. So dito, kapag napag-aralang mabuti ng isang decision maker ang lahat ng variables, eventually, ma-determine niya kung ano-ano yung mga components or variables na important, na significant, or mas nagmamatter dun sa creation of the system itself. The second one is that simulation is the only remaining tool when all other technique fails. So, syempre, kapag nagsasimulate ka kasi, normally, nag-i-involve siya ng multiple alternatives or options. Marami kang pagpipilian. So, syempre, kapag pipili ka, see to it na yung pipiliin mo, yung best of the best, yung magbibigay sa'yo ng welfare, ng something like that. So, say for example, meron kang 5 alternatives, tas, syempre, pipili ka ng kung ano yung the best doon. Yung 4, it was considered as fail. Kasi kaya mo nga yun yung pinili. Kaya mo nga yun hindi pinili. Kasi, kumbaga, hindi ka satisfied dun sa alternative. Dun sa mga alternative na yun. So, yeah. Next one is that simulation is being used as pre-service test to try out new policies and decision rules for operating a system before running the risk of experimentation in the real system. In other words, in simulation, experiments are carried out with the model without disturbing the real system. So, ang kinagandahan nito, kasi kapag pumalpak man yung plan mo or yung model na ginawa mo, hindi affected yung real system. Kasi, hindi mo pa naman yun ginawa doon. Kasi sabi, before running the risk. So, it is safe. Thus, simulation allows us to test the behavior of the system before building it. Kung sa real life situation to, parang kung ikaw ay isang business owner, tapos may nagbalak kang mag-launch ng bagong product, bago mo siya ilabas sa marketplace, marami ka munang experiment na ginawa. Marami kang mga process of tests na ginawa para masiguro na once na pag nilaunch mo ang isang product, tuloy-tuloy yun, walang aberya, parang ganun. Then, fourth one is that simulation is suitable to analyze large and complex real-life problems which cannot be solved by usual quantitative methods. Pag yung sinabi natin quantitative methods, yun yung mga mathematical methods that involves various formulas, ng mga functions, mga linear chuchunes, lahat yun. Kasi, let's face it, I mean, the reality in life, reality is that may mga problema tayo na hindi nasusolve gamit yung kung ano-anong formula na binibigay sa atin ng math. So, ang gagawin natin is that we have to try. We have to keep trying. Next one is that simulation is flexible and hence, changes in the system variables can be made to select the best solution among the various alternatives. So, yung simulation kasi, ang isa pang kagandahan nito ay flexible. Kapag yung unang try mo, hindi siya nag-work, you have to change, to replace something na kailangang palitan for you to be able to come up with the best solution that you could ever have. Also, by doing a simulation, one tends to find faults in the system. Yun nga, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, bago mo pa i-launch ang isang product, na-predict mo na by doing a simulation yung po pwedeng humadlang, yung po pwedeng mali dun sa isang product or sa isang system. By that, napigilan mo or nahinder mo yung possibility na maaaring kung hindi ka nag-simulate beforehand, tas nilaunch mo agad yung system, worst comes to worst, consumer mo pa yung naka-discover nung fault na yon. So, ano yon? Syempre, ano yun sa image mo, masisira yung image mo dun sa yung trust, yung relationship mo dun sa customer. Which is, di ba kasi kapag image yung nasisira, it really took time to have it back. The last advantage of simulation is that it's cheaper and easier to change the simulation model than changing the real system. Kasi 'di ba, na-mention ko din kanina na yung paggawa ng model is actually outside the real system. Kung pumalpak man yung plans mo, yung model mo na yon, it won't cost you a lot. Kasi hindi naman yung pinaka-system yung nasira eh. You could have another model naman. Gagawa ka hanggang sa makuha mo yung tamang makuha mo yung gusto mong makuha. So now let's move on to the disadvantages. Syempre, sa isang bagay, hindi po pwedeng puro advantage lang yung ibibigay niyan sa'yo. Kung merong advantages, syempre may disadvantages. Ang una nun is that simulation is a trial and error approach that produces different solutions in repeated runs. So, ibig sabihin, it does not generate optimal solutions to problems. Parang magta-try ka ng maraming alternatives, ng maraming case, ng paulit-ulit hanggang ma-achieve mo yung solution sa isang problema. Or, in other words, you have to run different scenarios and see their effect. Titingnan mo yung results. Alin ba doon yung pinaka mag-benefit ka, ganyan. So, wala siyang assurance na kapag ginawa mo ang isang bagay, ginawa mo yung process na to, at ito na yung magiging solution. No, it's not like that. In simulation, you have to do it repeatedly hanggang sa makonsider mo lahat ng what if gamitin mo to, what if gamitin mo yan, ano yung magiging effect nun sa'yo. Parang ganun. Paulit-ulit. The second one is that expensive, sometimes expensive and take a long time to develop. Kasi nga 'di ba, i-consider mo lahat ng what if kapag nagsa-simulate ka eh. So, time consuming siya. Tapos minsan magastos na din kasi the longer the time the simulation takes place, syempre, mas malaking pera ang kakainin nun. The third one is that simulation model does not provide answers by itself. So, hindi ibig sabihin nun na pag nag-simulate ka, ang makukuha mo, ang result nun, yun na mismo yung definite or absolute answer. Ang ibig sabihin lang nito, kapag nag-simulate ka, hindi yun, kapag gumawa ka ng model, yun na yun. Magbibigay na siya ng kusa ng sagot. Ng sagot dun sa problema. Hindi ganun yun. Yung user, you have to provide all the constraints for the solution which you want to examine. So, parang mag-input ka. Lahat ng pwedeng factor na maka-affect dun sa problema or connected dun sa problema, you have to provide everything. Kasi hindi yun pagpapagawa ka ng model, kasi ganito yung problema ko without providing information. So, paano mo masosolve ang isang problema? The last disadvantage of simulation is that building a model requires special training. Otherwise, may results lack of precision. So, yeah, of course, if I am the user or I am the one who wants to do a simulation process, of course, I want to hire someone who is experienced in the field. Kasi kapag unexperienced ang gagawa, malaki kasi yung chance na hindi niya alam yung ginagawa niya. Kasi when we say special training, it is something or it is an art that can be learned over time or through experience. So, just imagine the fact kung ang i-hire mo na gagawa ng model mo is someone who is unexperienced in the field. So, malamang sa malamang, hindi maayos ang kakalabasan.
What is a Monte Carlo simulation? A Monte Carlo simulations are used to model the probability of different outcomes in a process that cannot easily be predicted due to the intervention of random variables. It is a technique used to understand the impact of risk and uncertainty in prediction and forecasting models. A Monte Carlo simulation can be used to tackle a range of problems in virtually every field such as finance, engineering, supply chain, and science. So it is also referred to as a multiple probability simulation. The basis of a Monte Carlo simulation is that the probability of varying outcomes cannot be determined because of random variable interference. Therefore, a Monte Carlo simulation focuses on constantly repeating random samples to achieve a certain results. A Monte Carlo simulation takes the variable that has uncertainty and assigns it a random value. The model is then run and the result is provided. So this process is repeated again and again while assigning the variable in question with many different values. Once the simulation is complete, the results are averaged together to provide an estimate. Monte Carlo simulation history. So Monte Carlo simulations are named after the popular gambling destination in Monaco, since chance and random outcomes are central to the modeling technique, much as they are to games like roulette, dice, and slot machines. The technique was first developed by Stanislaw Ulam, a mathematician who worked on the Manhattan Project. So after the war, while recovering from brain surgery, Ulam entertained himself by playing countless games of solitaire. He became interested in plotting the outcome of each of these games in order to observe their distribution and determine the probability of winning. So after he shared his idea with John von Neumann, the two collaborated to develop the Monte Carlo simulation. List of areas where Monte Carlo simulation is used. First, engineering. Next, climate change and radiative forcing. Third, computational biology. Fourth, computer graphics. And fifth, applied statistics. And lastly, the artificial intelligence for games. Since business and finance are plugged by random variables, Monte Carlo simulations have a vast array of potential applications in these fields. They are used to estimate the probability of cost overruns in large projects and the likelihood that an asset price will move in a certain way. Telecoms use them to assess network performance in different scenarios, helping them to optimize the network. Analysts use them to assess the risk that an entity will default and to analyze derivatives such as options. Insurers and oil well drillers also use them. So Monte Carlo simulations have countless applications outside of business and finance, such as in meteorology, astronomy, and particle physics. Monte Carlo simulations, a simple example. Consider a simple example of rolling dice. Assume that you want to determine the probability of rolling a 7 using 2 dice with values 1 through 6. There are 36 possible combinations for the 2 dice, 6 of which will total 7 as shown as the following image. So here are the 36 possible combinations of rolling a 2 dice. So there are 1 possible combinations for the total of 2. So let's count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So, the total number of states or the total possible combinations will be 36. So, when you want to know the probability of showing a total of 7, there are 6 possible combinations. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A combination of 4 and 3 or 3 or 4. Combination of 5 and 2 or 2 or 5. And a possible combination of 6 or 1 or 1 and 6. So, in order to compute the probability of showing 7, the 6 possible outcomes of showing 7 would be divided with the total possible combination. So, 6 divided by 36, that would be 0.1666 or simply 0.167 or is equals to 16.67%. If you want to know the possible or the probability of showing 8, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possible combinations for 8. So that would be 5 divided by 36. That results to 0.139 or 13.9%. To determine the actual probability of rolling a 7, you might physically roll that dice 100 times and record the outcome of each time. So, there maybe you can physically roll the dice 100 times. Assume that you did this and rolled a 7 17 out of 100 times. So out of physically rolling the dice 100 times, the 7 shown 17 times over 100. So that would be 0.17 or simply as 17%. Although this result would represent an actual physical result, it would still represent an approximate result. If you continue to roll the dice again and again, the result would become less and less approximate. A Monte Carlo simulation is the mathematical representation of this process. It allows you to simulate the act of physically rolling the dice and lets you specify how many times to roll them. Each roll of the dice represents a single iteration in the overall simulation. As you increase the number of iterations, the simulation results become more and more accurate. For each iteration, variable inputs are generated at random to simulate conditions such as dice design, rolling surface, and throwing technique. The results of the simulation would provide a statistical representation of the physical experiment described in this. So another sample for Monte Carlo simulation. So the problem of simulation would be a dentist schedules all her patients for 30 minutes appointment. Some of the patients take more or less than 30 minutes depending upon the type of dental work to be done. The following summary shows the various categories of work, their probabilities, and the time needed to complete the work. So there are 5 categories, which is the filling, crown, cleaning, extraction, and check-up. For filling, there are 45 minutes time required. For crown, 60 minutes. Cleaning, 15 minutes. Extraction, 45 minutes. For check-up, 15 minutes. So, yung filling may 40% probability or 0.40. Crown, 15% probability. Cleaning, 15% probability. Extraction, 10% probability. And for check-up, 20% probability. So, simulate the dentist clinic for 4 hours and determine the average waiting time for the patients as well the idleness of the doctor. Assume that all the patients show up at the clinic at exactly their scheduled arrival times starting at 8 a.m. Use the following random numbers for handling the above problem: 40, 82, 11, 34, 25, 66, 17, and 79. So, ano nang gagawin? So, sa table 2, ika-category natin yung cumulative probability which is given sa table 1. So, table 1, kinopya lang natin yung 5 category which is filling, crown, cleaning, extraction, and check-up. So, dito, time required or minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, and the probability, 40, 15, 15, 10, and 20. Para ma-compute ang cumulative probability, first, sulat mo natin dito yung 0.40. So, for the table 2, ito kasi yung setting the random number of interval. So, 0.40. Para makuha natin yung pangalawang cumulative probability, need natin i-add yung 40 and 15. So, that would be 0.55. Then next lang 0.55 will be added to 0.15. Then magiging 0.70 na siya. Then 0.70 will be added 0.10 and then 0.80 and the 0.80 will be added 0.20. That would be 1.0. So, in order to determine the random number interval, mag-start tayo sa 0, 0. And then yung 40, maglalast tayo sa kanya ng 1. So, magiging 0 to 39. Then dito magiging 40 to 54. So, 55 to 69, 70 to 79, and 80 to 99. So, meron na tayong random number interval. So, proceed tayo sa table. Number 4, para makompute natin yung waiting time per patient. Para makuha natin kung ilang patient yung darating para sa araw na yun. Given kasi na 4 hours daw, then may 30 minutes appointment. So, 4 hours times 60, since 60 minutes per hour, so 4 times 60, then divide natin sa 30, then may 8 patients na darating pa sa clinic. So, patient number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, yung random number, which is given naman dito sa problem, which is 40, 82, 11, 34, 25, 66, 17, and 79. Yung ilalagay natin dito sa table. So, 40, 82, 11, 34, 25, 66, 17, and 79. Para sa patient number 1, mag-start yung treatment niya at exactly 8 a.m. So, 8 o'clock a.m. So, para malaman natin kung kailan mag-i-end yung treatment niya, yung random number 40, hanapin natin siya sa interval. So, yung 40, maglalaan siya dito sa rounding, which is 60 minutes. Mag-e-end. Kung start ng treatment niya ay 8 a.m. then may 60 minutes treatment siya. So, magtatapos ang treatment niya at 9 a.m. Wala siyang waiting time dahil siya yung muna nagtitreat ng dentist. So, dito, fill up natin yung table 3, which is wala siyang waiting time. So, ang arrival time ng second patient ay 8:30 a.m. which is the 30 minutes appointment na ginawa natin kanina. So, 8:30 a.m. Dahil 8:30 a.m. siya dumating at 9 a.m. pa matatapos yung treatment para sa patient number 1, magkakaroon siya ng 30 minutes waiting time. 30 minutes. And then, nasa random number 82 siya. Check natin yung naunang table. 82. So, dito siya sa check-up, which is 15 minutes lang. So, 15 minutes. So, start siya dito ng 9 o'clock a.m. Then, mag-e-end siya ng 9:15 a.m. Proceed tayo sa patient number 3. Para sa patient number 3, arrival time niya which is 9 a.m. Pero natapos yung dentist sa treatment ng patient number 2 at 9:15 a.m. So, magkakaroon siya ng 15 minutes waiting time. So, 15 and 15 dito para sa patient number 3. So, since nasa random number 11 siya, check natin dito. So, magpo-fall siya sa filling which is 45 minutes. Start yung treatment niya at 9:15 a.m. and mag-e-end at exactly 10 o'clock a.m. Next, patient number 4. Arrival time at 9:30 a.m. Natapos si dentist at 10 o'clock a.m. So, may waiting time siya at 30 minutes. So, check natin random number 11, which is nasa 34 siya. So, maglalan siya sa feeling din, which is 45 minutes. 34. So, at exactly 10 a.m., to 10:45 a.m. So, si patient 5, arrival time at 10 o'clock a.m. And natapos, si patient 4 at 10:45. So, magkakaroon siya ng 45 minutes waiting time. Be 45. And this is patient number 5, random number 25. Magpo-fall ulit siya sa feeling, which is 45 minutes. So, 10:45 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Para kay patient number 6, arrival time niya at 10:30 a.m. Pero natapos si patient number 5 at 11:30 a.m. So, may 1 hour waiting time or 60 minutes. Si patient number 6. So, 60 minutes. 60 minutes. Then, si patient number 6 with a random number 66. Fall siya dito sa cleaning, which is 15 minutes lang. And 66. Cleaning is 15 minutes. So, at 11:30 p.m. to 11:45 a.m. Si patient 7 naman, ang arrival time niya, 11 a.m. Matatapos si patient number 6 at 11:45. So, may 45 minutes waiting time si patient number 7. So, 45 minutes din dito. So, 7 para malaman natin kung saan mag-fall. So, number 17 sa feeling. Si patient number 7, which is 45 minutes. So, 11:45 starts at 11:45 yung treatment niya. 11:45 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Then, lastly, si patient number 8, arrival time niya at 11:30 a.m. And then, natapos si patient number 7 at 12:30 p.m. So, exactly 1 hour or 60 minutes ang waiting time niya. So, 8. Si patient number 8 ay may random number 79. So, dito siya sa extraction, which is 45 minutes din. 45 minutes. So, from 12:30 p.m. up to 1:15 p.m. So, ito na nakuha na natin yung waiting time ng patients o per patient. Para makuha naman natin yung average waiting time for patients. Add lang natin silang lahat. So, 30 plus 15 plus 30 plus 15 plus 30. 30 plus 15 plus 30 plus 45 plus 60 plus 45 plus 60 divided by total of patients. So 8. 30 plus 15 plus 30 plus 45 plus 60 plus 45 plus 60. So 285. 285 divided by 8. Divided by 8. So may average na 35.625. So, ang average waiting time per patient ay 35.625 minutes. Ang average idleness naman ng dentist would be nil. Since wala namang time yung doctor or yung dentist, since yung mga patient ay dumadating exactly at their arrival time.
A Monte Carlo simulation is a method of probability analysis done by running a number of variables through a model in order to determine the different outcomes. By using Monte Carlo simulations, decision makers are able to determine the range of possibilities and their probability of occurrence for any choice of actions. The Monte Carlo simulation is named for the city of Monte Carlo, which is known for its beautiful casinos. The reference to casinos is appropriate, since Monte Carlo simulations use randomness, much like the slot machines, dice, and roulette wheels in a casino. A Monte Carlo simulation works by constructing a mathematical model of the decision under consideration. Then the simulation is run for any uncertain aspects of that model. Different random variables are put into these uncertain parts of the model until there are enough outcomes to plot on a probability distribution curve. This is usually done on computers because the Monte Carlo simulation can be run tens of thousands of times in order to cover all possible outcomes. Based on the shape of the probability distribution curve created by the Monte Carlo simulation, decision makers will know where their ultimate decision falls within the various probabilities. They then make their decision based on the risk they are willing to take to get the outcome they want or need.
So now let's move on to simulation with two decision variable, also known as the simulation optimization. But first, what is decision variable? So decision variable is a quantity that the decision maker controls. For example, in labor scheduling, the number of employees in shifting schedule, and etc. And in simulation optimization, variables are used. So without further ado, let's start with what is optimization. So optimization is the action of making the best or most effective use of a situation or resource, maximizing or minimizing. It means that you are improving something, enhancing something, optimized to make everything perfect. And the common application of optimization is to have minimal cost but has a maximal profit and alike. Just how can you minimize the cost but still you have a maximized profit? So we know what simulation and optimization is. Now let's combine the two. Simulation optimization. What is that? Simulation optimization can be defined as the process finding the best input variable values from among all possibilities without explicitly evaluating each possibility. It is used to improve a system using a simulation with optimization. What does it mean? So we know that simulation in general is imitating the real subject. just to know what will happen if this happens. So Minecraft, do you know Minecraft? So Minecraft can also be used as a simulation tool. If you are artistic enough, you can imitate a building or a city using the game or the application. What am I trying to say is that you are using the simulation to know how to optimize or enhance things in that area. Later, I'll show exactly how simulation optimization works. So going back, the objective of this is to minimize the resources spent while maximizing the information obtained in a simulation experiment. To have a clear insight about what am I talking about, let us know what are the application of simulation optimization and where can we apply this. As you can see, these are some of the application of simulation optimization: news vendor, financial optimization, supply chain inventory, queuing system, for example, call centers and healthcares. In news vendor, the variables there is demand and the inventory itself. On like how can a news vendor maximize his profit in improving or optimizing his inventory? Or when should he produce a bulk of newspaper or etc. You can also see the financial optimization, the supply chain inventory, and one of the best example is the call center, the shifting schedule of employees. But what am I gonna show to you about it is the last application, which is the hospital situation. To know more about it, let's watch this video.
Here at MoSimTech, we're in the business of leveraging modern advancements in modeling and simulation science and technology to solve complex issues for clients across various industries. Simulation, when used for planning or assessment, can help with predicting behavior of your people, process, and systems, improving efficiency of your operations, validating your business plan, winning credibility for your proposal by visually communicating to a wide range of stakeholders. Never before has an industry faced so much uncertainty as the healthcare industry. Modeling and simulations can help healthcare providers deal with change by predicting the behavior of people, process, and systems, allowing them to make smarter decisions. In this video, you're seeing a demonstration of a simulation model for an emergency department. The model integrates various components of an emergency department, such as patients, physicians, nurses, beds, and other medical devices and materials. The modeling environment is a two-scale representation of the building housing the emergency department and the individual areas and rooms inside. The model executes dynamic behavior that is defined for each of these components, including process delays, congestion, reliability, schedules, and more. Patients travel along paths moving from check-in and vitals to the labs, imaging rooms, or treatment rooms. This model shows patients moving through the emergency department, as well as physicians, nurses, and other staff responding and tending to these patients. Several classes of severity may be defined for patients, and each class of patients may have alternative routings, processing times, and visual cues. Here we provide visual differentiation for the severity classes by slightly altering the symbols representing the patients. Priorities at processing areas can depend on the severity class of the patient or any other patient attribute of interest. The model is constantly collecting data in real time for all these components. This simulation model can be used for running the emergency department under various scenarios to answer questions like how many physicians, nurses, lab technicians, and administrative staff are needed? What is the optimal staff schedule? What is the quantity of medical equipment needed to support varying operating levels? What are the utilization of equipment and staff? What should be the expected throughput, length of stay, and time spent waiting in the emergency department? Where are the bottlenecks in the emergency department operation? Can the current length of stay and waiting times experienced by patients be improved by changing operating policies? Does the benefit of adding beds, rooms, equipment, or staff justify the cost? What are the estimated annual operating costs under various scenarios?